This video is sponsored by Brilliant. More on them in a moment. Greetings, I'm Griffin Johnson, your resident armchair historian. In today's episode, we're asking, was the Prussian army truly as formidable as every schoolboy in a pickelhaube imagines? Music during the 18th century, the Kingdom of Prussia commanded a military reputation that bordered on the legendary. However, as with all historical lore, exaggeration and misconception often cloud the truth. Today, we're dissecting whether Prussia's status as one of history's most elite fighting forces is fact or fiction. Is this European legacy a deserved badge of honor or merely a product of popular imagination? Music to find out. We will analyze three pillars of the Prussian military machine: its structure, its tactics, and its battlefield triumphs. Let's dive into the structure, specifically the command system forged under the iron fist of Frederick William I. A soldier king to his core, Frederick's first act upon taking the throne was purging his predecessor's court and installing a cadre of military reformers. He knew that a world-class army demanded world-class officers. In 1716, he founded the first Prussian cadet school, an elite boarding institution. However, these commissions were reserved strictly for the Prussian nobility, the Junkers. This meant that while Prussian leaders were rigorously trained, their positions were often dictated by bloodline rather than pure merit. But an officer is nothing without men to command. In 1733, Frederick William I revolutionized recruitment with the canton system, carving Prussia into military districts. Small regions, each containing about 5,000 households, were funneled into the enlistment rolls. This rapidly propelled Prussia to the fourth largest army in Europe. While this granted them great power status on paper, they had yet to cement their reputation for iron discipline and tactical genius. Compared to the French and Austrian armies, which relied on volunteers and the sale of commissions, the Prussian model was a different beast entirely. The efficiency of the Prussian military system was undeniable. The king's next mission was to sharpen this force into the most disciplined and lethal tool in existence. Three innovations stood out under Frederick's reign. First, the iron ramrod. You might wonder how a simple rod could change the tide of war. The answer is simple. Unlike traditional wooden ramrods, iron ones didn't snap in the heat of battle, a failure that could render a soldier useless in seconds. The second innovation was pure speed. While rival nations struggled to train soldiers to fire 3 rounds per minute, Frederick William's troops were drilled relentlessly to unleash up to 6 rounds per minute, a terrifying cadence for the era. Even if such speeds were nearly impossible to maintain in the fog of war or on the parade ground, the psychological and physical edge of consistently outshooting an opponent by even a single volley was devastating. Then there was the iconic goose step, a march that looks peculiar today but was a tactical masterstroke in the 18th and 19th centuries. Introduced in the 1740s by the reformer Prince Leopold of Dessau, this synchronized stride ensured soldiers moved at a precise, uniform pace. This allowed commanders to maneuver massive blocks of men with surgical precision, whereas other European armies often saw their formations crumble into disjointed messes. Without that cohesion, units were prone to shattering under pressure. Prussia's innovations didn't stop with the infantry. Their cavalry became the ultimate shock force, famous for an aggressive death or glory attitude, symbolized by the Totenkopf, death's head, on their headgear. It's clear the Prussians were masters of tactical theory, but theory is useless without execution. For that, Prussia needed a genius. Enter the successor, the warrior king himself, Frederick the Great. As historian Tim Blanning notes, Frederick inherited a powerhouse, a massive, well-drilled army, a loyal nobility bred for service, an efficient bureaucracy, and a war chest deep enough to fight without crushing taxes. Frederick led from the front, and today we'll examine 3 of his masterpiece victories: Hohenfriedberg, Rossbach, and Leuthen. These battles are textbook examples of the Prussian tactics we've discussed, from sheer cavalry dominance to advanced maneuvers. Hohenfriedberg, fought during the Second Silesian War against Austria, was Frederick's first major triumph and the origin of the great moniker we use today. Here, 59,000 Prussians dismantled a combined Austro-Saxon force of 63,000. This battle is immortalized by a single Prussian heavy cavalry regiment that smashed through the enemy lines, capturing over 2,000 prisoners. 6 months later, a peace treaty secured Prussian control of Silesia. Next came the Battle of Rossbach during the 7 Years' War. In a staggering display of efficiency, 22,000 Prussians defeated 42,000 French and Allied troops in just 90 minutes. Frederick executed a series of complex maneuvers requiring perfect synchronization, achieved only through that iconic rhythmic marching. He then outflanked the enemy using the oblique order, pinning them down with disciplined volleys before crushing the remnants with a final cavalry charge. Exactly 1 month later, he struck again near the village of Leuthen in Silesia, utilizing those same lethal tactics. At Leuthen, Frederick's 33,000 men decisively crushed the Austrians. This battle remains one of the greatest displays of military discipline in history, featuring 2 lines of Prussian grenadiers advancing with eerie, mathematical precision against the Austrian mass. The victory effectively knocked Austria out of the remainder of the 7 Years' War, cementing Prussia's dominance. From these clashes, it's clear Frederick the Great's reputation was hard-earned. Yet, his reforms weren't perfect. The Prussian artillery, for instance, never quite reached its full potential during his reign. Frederick realized this late in his career and experimented with horse artillery, but Prussian development in this field was soon eclipsed by a young Corsican lieutenant named Napoleon. After Frederick's death in 1786, the army began a slow slide into mediocrity. The wake-up call came in 1806 with a humiliating defeat at Jena at the hands of Napoleon. This sparked a total military overhaul led by General Gerhard von Scharnhorst. Prussia opened the officer corps to the middle class, allowing the nation to rise. Again as a formidable power by 1830. Further strategic and doctrinal shifts occurred under the legendary Helmuth von Moltke, who championed initiative and rapid movement. These evolutions allowed Prussia to steamroll through Denmark in 1864, Austria in 1866, and France in 1870, finally paving the way for the unification of Germany in 1871. Interestingly, to fund his early army, Frederick William I had shuttered the Prussian Academy of Sciences, allowing Britain and France to take the intellectual lead. But when Frederick the Great took the throne, he reopened the doors. Brilliant minds like Jean d'Alembert and Pierre Maupertuis flourished there, contributing breakthroughs that changed human civilization.